Slavery, America's Biggest Triumph. Presented by T.R. Henry. Table of Contents. Slavery in America. Slavery as a business. 19th century slavery. The Civil War. The Reconstruction period. Civil rights movements. Slavery in America. Slavery began in North America in the colony of Jamestown, Virginia, in 1619. At Jamestown, Virginia, approximately 20 captive Africans are sold into slavery in the British North American colonies. Slavery in America continued. Slavery started to aid in the production of lucrative crops, such as tobacco. Colonial North America's slave trade began when the first African slave carrier, Desire, is built and launched in Massachusetts. Highlights from the 16th century. Escaped slave Crispus Attucks is killed by British forces in Boston, Massachusetts. He is one of the first colonists to die in the War for Independence. He was also considered a martyr, the first martyr. The slave population in the colonies is nearly 500,000. In Virginia, the ratio of free colonists to slaves is nearly 1-to-1. In South Carolina, it is approximately 1-to-2. By 1793, slavery was big business and crucial to the South's economy with the invention of the cotton gin. 19th century slavery. By the end of the 19th century, America expanded westward. With the expansion came an abolitionist movement up north. From this, the Civil War began. The Civil War. The Civil War was won by the Union. An estimated 4 million slaves were freed. In the mid-19th century, while the United States was experiencing an era of tremendous growth, the Civil War continued. The South's economy was based on a system of large-scale farming that depended on the labor of black slaves to grow certain crops, especially cotton and tobacco. Though slavery was still continued from years of the Reconstruction period. The Reconstruction period, 1865 to 1867. Correction, from 1865 to 1877. The 13th Amendment, adopted late in 1865, officially abolished slavery. At the recommendation of Robert E. Lee, the Confederate Congress signs and passes the Negro Soldier Bill, allowing slave enlistment. The Civil Rights Movement. A century after emancipation, civil rights and advocates come into play in the 1960s, nearly 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. African Americans in southern states still inhabited a starkly unequal world of disenfranchisement. The Civil Rights Movement continued. Segregation and various forms of oppression, including race-inspired violence, Jim Crow laws at the local and state levels, barred them from classrooms, bathrooms, from theaters, train cars, from juries, and legislatures. The start of a revolution. In 1954, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down the separate but equal doctrine that formed the basis for state-sanctioned discrimination, drawing national and international attention to African Americans' plight. The movement in acceleration. In the turbulent decade and a half that followed, civil rights activists used nonviolent protests and civil disobedience to bring about change, and the federal government made legislative headway and innovators such as the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and the Civil Rights Act of 1968. Continued. Many leaders from within the African American community and beyond rose to the prominence during the Civil Rights era, including Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, Andrew Goodman, and others. They risked and sometimes lost their lives in the name of freedom and equality. Question and answer time. How long did slavery last in America? 100 years? 3 decades? 245 years? 42 decades. References. Thank you for your time.